In a civilized and cultivated country, wild animals only continue to exist at all when preserved by sportsmen. The excellent people who protest against all hunting and consider sportsmen as the enemies of wildlife are ignorant of the fact that, in reality, the genuine sportsman is by all odds the most important factor in keeping the larger and more valuable wild creatures from total extermination. Theodore Roosevelt. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Wild Initiative Conservation Coffee Break. Today I'm sitting down with Justin Spring of the Boone and Crockett Club. Justin, thanks so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
So why don't you give me just a quick overview of what is Boone and Crockett and what do you do with them?
Okay, so the Boone and Crockett was founded in 1887 by Theodore Roosevelt. We are the longest conservation organization continually running since that time. One of the conservation programs we run is a records program to gauge wildlife successes and failures, and I am the director of records for the organization.
So as director of records, kind of what does your job entail?
So we do all the training for, all of the you hear somebody say a deer scores this. That scoring system is something we developed, and a lot of people, try to rank a hunt on it. That was never the intention. It's purely a scientific gauge that we can say, hey, this area is putting out, more quality deer or elk or whatever, maybe this area used to, and now it's dropped off. And so we run it as an overall data set kind of to gauge wildlife populations on the continental scale. So I do all the training. I do a lot of the data analysis, the manuals, the procedures that we go through. That all kind of falls under my job duties.
So when you have all this data that comes in from different hunters and from different sources. You take this data. What happens to the data then? How does that data generally get used?
So it's housed in a database. We put out the books every 3 and 6 years, which is what most hunters see. But we'll get requested from a state agency or perhaps a researcher from a university that'll be looking at a particular thing. One example, Arkansas wanted to see if some harvest regulations they put into effect, if that could be seen in the records data. So we sent them, all the Arkansas entries from a certain time period, and they analyzed it to see if what they'd done had actually had a positive effect. So generally they contact us or, at a conference or something, will say, hey, I've got this data set. Do you think this would be useful in looking at the question you're trying to answer? Gotcha.
So would you say that, when it comes to really specific conservation issues, you don't necessarily see Boone and Crockett necessarily directly addressing or attacking an issue. Mostly you guys focus on the data, the science behind the harvest and all of that, and create effectively a resource for other organizations, other agencies to use as they try to address various conservation issues.
So the records aspect of the club 100% is a data wing, but we do have other factions of the club that do take on issues facing hunting and wildlife, CWD, poaching, things along those. We do have initiatives going at those, but that's all separate. The records is kind of the standalone, data side of things. And again, it doesn't tell us what the problem is. It just says, hey, this used to be a good area or used to be a bad area. What's changed? What have they done there that may work somewhere else?
And what species does Boone and Crockett keep records for?
Oh, we have 38 categories, which I think is 29 species, basically all the native North American big game. So everything from whitetails to walrus, basically.
I like that. Whitetail to walrus. I think that is the first time I've ever heard that phrase used. And what say, so maybe just a few examples. Obviously, we don't need to go through what it entails for all of them, but for an animal to be kind of included in the Boone and Crockett record book. So maybe just because it's my passion, for an elk, say, to be included in the Boone and Crockett record books? What are the criteria for that?
So, we are trying to gauge the older male mature specimens. The idea being if it can express our minimum inches of antler, everything else has to be in place for it to get there. So it's 360 inches for a typical American elk. If it's hunter taken, it has to be taken within fair chase. So for a hunter's name to be listed, there's some stipulations. But if it's a found head or, a poached head that's confiscated by a game department, it's still a valid data point. We just don't want to recognize the hunter. So those are listed as a picked up head or a found head. So we will list pretty much anything, but to have the hunter listed, it has to be taken in fair chase.
And how does Boone and Crockett define fair chase generally?
There's a list of things. Basically, the animal needs to have a fair chance to escape. Is the easiest way to put it. There's numerous different things that we can go down. For example, you can't use a trail camera that transmits live images to the hunter. In theory, you could be sitting in your recliner and then your camera says, oh, there's a deer coming your way. That's not fair chase. So we do have some lines like that. But the overarching theme is, there needs to have a fair chance to elude you just as much as you have a chance to get it.
So generally, there's a little bit of discernment, discretion involved when it comes to the definition of fair chase, as far as being included in having your name included with the records.
Correct.
Gotcha. So if folks wanted to find Boone and Crockett online, where can they hunt you guys down?
Our website is www.boone-crockett.org. We also have a Facebook presence, Instagram, so we're on all the web and social medias, and we'd love to have you follow us.
Awesome. And other than taking a booner of a bull or a deer, what are some other ways folks can get involved and help out with the mission of Boone and Crockett?
We have an associates program, and like I said, I'm very familiar with the records. That's kind of my passion and my world. But we just did a big poach and pay program where we did a research project, basically talking to all the different states, figuring out restitution and what seems to be effective to make the poaching fees stick and act as a deterrent. We're also involved in a lot of CWD research. So if you get on the website, you can join as an associate, and that's our membership, and those funds go directly to all of our different conservation mission projects.
Fantastic. All right, y'all, make sure you head on over to our conservation page. That's thewildinitiative.com/conservation. You can scroll down there and look for the Boone and Crockett logo, or give them a search in the search bar. You can check out their profile, get links to the website and all of the socials. Justin, I really appreciate taking the time and sitting down with me today.
Sounds great.